Finally, I'm on the table. My growth has been very slow, especially on my socials. So if they already follow Mumba Yachi, they won't go and try and follow James Sakala.
So you were supposed to be on Oliver Mtuku's album?
Yes. Yeah, we started communicating from 2014 up to 2016 when he invited me to his studio in Pakarepai.
And you featured on Chef 187's 360 song.
Yeah.
Do you think your contribution on that song really was impactful?
The church thinks Ninapondoka, you know.
How's the marriage life going?
She was married before and then she went through a divorce.
Ah.
Yeah. And then 4 years later, I married her. Yeah.
There's a lot of comments, people cyberbullying your wife.
Have you noticed that every celebrity wife is ugly or is old or is whatever, you know? Everyone.
Hey, what a show we have lined up today. Welcome to it. It's on the table. I'm your host. My name is Chimweka, or simply Chimweka, aka Chile 3. And hey, today we've got a lot of things to talk about, as you've seen with my guest today, somebody who is very well respected for his craft, his ability to sing, even when he just holds the guitar, and what he's able to do with that instrument is what has gained him the respect from music lovers, from those in the industry alike, but even also with the maturity in the content of the music that he does. Allow me to welcome the one and only James Sakala. How you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Great. It's great to have you on the table.
Finally. Finally, I'm on the table.
People say finally.
You know?
Like,
yeah, because I've been waiting.
I've never been here yet.
I've been waiting. I'm like, Sonny, Chimweka doesn't call me, you know what I mean? But I'm happy to be here.
No, good to have you as well. I love the look. I love the African culture being embraced.
Oh, yeah.
I was just complaining to your manager on why the t-shirt didn't reach me.
Well, you know, anyway, we'll talk about that on the other side.
Of air.
Yeah.
But I love also, I mean, with the headwear that you have.
As a Sakala.
Name, huh?
Sorry?
It's got a special name, right?
I think it has. I don't know the name, but I mean, I just call it the headgear, Ngoni headgear, because I mean, I like to keep my roots. Yeah.
And as you were saying, as a Sakala.
As a Sakala.
As a Sakala brother.
Yeah.
But which is also another very interesting thing about you, because you're James Sakala.
Yeah.
But you're very fluent with your Bemba.
With Bemba, yeah. So, you know, the funny story is that to cut the long story short, I grew up in Mukushi, and Mukushi Central Province is close to Northern Province. Yeah. That side, they speak more Bemba than any other language, so...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So are you also into farming? Because I know agriculture is very big in Mukushi. It's we have a lot of commercial farmers.
Yeah. I actually grew up at a farm. So in my family we have about 4 farms that I can count, like big farms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So growing up, I used to do, you know, garden, you know, here and there, you know, but most of the times you're just like doing the family farming.
Yeah.
So I still haven't started my own projects, but I am strongly considering I should start, because apart from music, that's the only other thing that I know. So yeah.
And if you had to start farming, what exactly would you venture into? I know that soybeans is a big
yeah. So I've been
now because of
cotton, yes, exactly. I've been doing my market research, and I think going forward, because of climate change, more drought resistant crops.
Yes.
So anything drought resistant, I can.
Yeah.
But obviously you have to look at the budgets and everything, because I mean it's also difficult to do farming in Zambia. Oh right now.
Yeah, no, that's true. But anyway, at least with that background, and clearly,
exactly,
if you know about the drought resistance crops,
exactly.
then you're really from that background. Yeah. But you've also been quite authentic, even just from your name, James Sakala, as your musical name. Did you ever at any point get tempted to have like a stage name, or just have this name that people will be calling you by?
Wow, that's an interesting question. So the funny story is that I actually started out by calling myself Jaysa.
Okay.
So most people that know me from back then, they call me Jaysa.
Jaysa.
You know, people like Tishon, Chameleon, Taitu, the late Christo Sean used to call me Jaysa. The Lukundo's Superman, Chef is manager because he's my brother. Yeah. So most people that know me from back there, they used to call me Jasa, and up to now they call me Jasa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because of
So yeah.
J
So
from
maybe
James.
after some time, when I decided to do this mature music that I do,
Yeah.
I decided to come back to my government names. Yeah. And I just removed one name because I'm James Thomas. I don't know why they gave me 2 English names, but anyway, so I just decided to call myself James Sakala.
James Thomas Sakala. Okay. You've mentioned you before we even get to people. Some of the people you've mentioned. I know now there's also been. I think I've been seeing some of the Zambezi griots. So are you adopting that officially?
Yeah. So I'm a griot. So it's something that I haven't really paid attention to for a long time, but now I finally accept. So maybe to explain a bit what
Yeah,
griot
because
means.
also like is it griot?
Griot.
Griot. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So griot is a storyteller.
Yeah.
So when you
Usually
listen
from
to
West Africa, I think.
yes, so it's usually used in West Africa. So I mean, I adopted it because at the end of the day, it still means the same.
Yeah.
So if you listen to my music, I'm telling stories. The people that have mentored me, the music that I learned from, are also storytellers. So I feel like they are passing on stories to me, and I have to pass on to someone else. Yeah.
You speak of people who've mentored you. Who are the people who've mentored you?
So from listening to music, Piket Shala, I never met him because he passed on when I was very young. I think I was in grade 7 in 96. But I've listened to his music a lot and I've learnt a lot from his writing, his vocal ability, his musicality. You know, he was a genius. And the other person that I was privileged to meet and actually became like my musical father is Oliver Mtukudzi.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So we actually even had to even record what we have a song on my first album. There's a song where he features. Yeah.
I know Oliver Mtukudzi at some point. I think he also came to perform here in.
Yes.
I think when it was through the. What we call
jazz festival.
What we call the Stanbic Music Fest.
Yes. By then it was called Stanbic Misty Jazz Festival. Yeah.
Were you performing at the same time he performed?
Yes. So 2014 was the first one, the first edition.
Yeah.
And I was given some, was it like 20 minutes as an opening act? I remember very well I wasn't even getting paid, because I was just like an opening act.
Yeah.
For me, it was more a platform being given to me. Yeah. So, and he was one of the headliners. So it was him and Hugh Masekela.
Yes.
So the day that I performed, he was there and he saw my performance. And that's the day we met and he gave me his personal number.
Oh, wow.
So we started communicating from 2014 up to 2016 when he invited me to his studio in Pakarepae at his house to record my song. And actually the plan was that song was going to feature on his album. He was recording an album that he wanted to call Oliver Mtukudzi and Friends. Okay. So it had the likes of Angelique Kidjo, Salif Keita, Hugh Masekela, a lot of big people, Yusundu is on the album. But unfortunately, it never came out because they planned to drop it in 2019 and he passed on in 2018.
So you were supposed to be on Oliver Mtukudzi's album?
Yes. Yeah. So that song was supposed to feature on the album.
Wow, that would have been really big. So do you have any access to the song?
Well, he allowed me to use it on my first album. So that's the only access I have. But unfortunately, I can't do anything with it unless I get clearance from his family as well, and because we share 50% of the song. Yeah.
So even with that, when you were recording, did you make these agreements? Because you're saying you're talking about 50%. So did you like sign somewhere? Did you have any contracts?
Yeah, I mean, he was a big shot. So obviously after recording, you just see someone approaching you, someone you haven't met, with papers, and they tell you, okay, so the instruction is that you are splitting 50%. So you go through the contract. Obviously, by that time I didn't even have a team. I was just a one-man team, I was the manager, the artist, the producer, the engineer, everything. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I didn't understand anything about contracts, but they made it simple and easy for me to understand. So we signed.
So through your interactions with Oliver Mtukudzi, what were you able to learn from him, especially around the industry, how things happen in Africa and countries like Zambia and Zimbabwe? I know we are very similar.
Yeah,
you'll be traveling there next month for their music festival. Were you able to learn a few things? If they are, what did you learn?
So I learned a lot of things from interacting with him. One of the things being, I remember this one time he told me that, James, you're an artist. Stay away from politics. Leave politics to politicians. Because if you are aspiring to go far as an artist, if you involve yourself in politics, they will kill your career. Politicians will kill your career. And I think I've seen it happen with a lot of artists, you know, no names mentioned, but I've seen it happen with a lot of politicians. And he told me that from an experience, because remember that he sang that song, is it Vumaiwe? And he was exiled for a long time. He ran and he hid in South Africa for years. And that time, his career sort of shook, you know? Yeah.
But do you think that's valid advice, or valuable advice? Because I mean, there are different artists and different entertainers across the world who involve themselves in politics and survive.
Yeah.
Before I even get to the US we see this happening a lot. Kanye West.
Yes.
Lil Jon is performing this side. Democrats, Republicans. But even here in Africa, you have people like, for example, the late AKA. He was very open about about him supporting the ANC, for example.
Yeah.
And we've seen that happening, and they still survive. They can still thrive musically.
Yeah.
So do you think that's really some valid advice that should be taken?
I think it depends on the environment, the environment that you're working with, because some political environments, they are not good for, you know, such things. You know.
Do you think our political environment here in Zambia is not good for that?
I feel like you're putting me on the spot. Well, I don't know. I feel like right now it's better than it used to be in the previous regime. I'll just be honest. Yeah. Because, I mean, we saw what a lot of artists went through, you know, and I wouldn't want to go through the same. And especially if you know the type of music you're doing and the type of audience that you want to influence. Yeah.
So do you think Zambians will be more accepting now to doing a political song than it was back in the day?
Well, I don't know about the rest of the Zambians, like the public out there, but I think the question should be, are politicians going to tolerate it? You know what I mean? Because mostly the ones that give people or artists the problems are politicians and not the people. Yeah. I feel like our politicians don't like to be questioned, especially on matters that are a bit sensitive. Yeah, it becomes a problem. So, I don't know.
Getting back to even just your days as J-Sa, how did you get to interact with these guys? Would they also know you from the musical background? They know you for something else, the Chameleons?
Yeah.
How exactly did you?
So, I used to be, I don't know, I should call myself a DJ, but I used to chill at my cousin's club in Mukushi. It was called Director's Den. Okay. And that guy used to be, his name is Dylan, he's now late. He used to be a music promoter. So he started by, you know, inviting different artist club in Mukushi, and then started traveling with artists to different towns. Like, you know, I remember we did a show in Nakonde for Chameleon. We did one for Ozzy, Slap D, and I think Nasty D. And then we also did Chameleon in Mumba, and we did one in, is it Livingstone? I've forgotten. But yeah, so that time when he was bringing artists in Mukushi, because I was, you know, usually found at his club, I would have access to these guys. So this one time, Chameleon came with Mampi, and, you know, they came with a live band. And it was the first time I actually saw a live band, you know what I mean? Like, in Mukushi, those things were not common, especially in the 2004, whatever. Yeah. So Chameleon performs his songs, and then he goes, is there anyone among a few people who can sing any of my songs with the band? I'll give you a CD. And because some of my friends knew that I used to sing a lot of Chameleon, so I was a big fan, you know. So they pushed me on the stage. And I had never sung with a band before. I had never known how to follow a beat, how to stay on key. I just had basic ideas because of church. Yeah. And the funny thing is that I grew up in a Jehovah's Witness church, and there's no musical instruments, you know. But you know what I mean? Like, your instrumental's already recorded, you just sing, they put it on a player, and you sing with your hymn books, following the tune, you know. So the guys pushed me on stage, and I sang that Naliendele Konsene. I sang it on key, and I was on tempo. And I think Chameleon was impressed. And after the show, he invited me to the section where they were chilling from, like the VIP. And he was like, so he asked me a few questions, like, what are you doing? Are you recording? I'm like, I don't know. Here in Mkushi, there's no studio. He's like, okay, travel to Lusaka, call me. He gave me his number. He said, when you come, you should call me. So the first time I came here, I didn't have any relatives. Some businessman, he's also late, Pamlambe, gave me a lift. He was coming to buy some things for his shop. So he gave me a lift, and then he dropped me in town and gave me 10 kwacha. That time it was 10,000 kwacha. Yeah. And I was supposed to get on a bus going to Charleston to meet Chameleon at the studio. So when I went there, Chameleon wasn't there. I met Charlie. And, well, we had a little light chat, and he told me, here I can allow you to record, but only on a fee. So he told me you have to pay 8,000 kwacha to record. Was it like 4 songs? That time it was 80,000. Yeah. Okay. So you pay 80,000 kwacha to record 4 songs. And I didn't know where to get that money from. So I went back. After some time, I had another privilege.
So you didn't even meet with Chameleon?
No, we didn't. So after some time, I had the privilege to come and attend some audition with George Wangu. He was the first one to audition me. And after I sang, he gave me his guitar. I played a few chords and I sang. Then he asked me, what else do you do in Mkushi? So I said, I grew up at a farm, so I do farming with my grandfather. Then he says, if I were you, I would stick to farming. So that was, that was a bit, yeah. But I'll be honest with you, I was hurt, But I think he helped me a lot, because basically what he said is, if you want to do this, you have to push yourself, because it's not easy out here. There's talented people who are 10 times better than you, and they are also chasing the same things that you are trying to chase, which is an opportunity to record a song with George Wangu. You get it? So when I went back, I quit for like a year. I didn't want anything to do with music. But then I met a certain friend of mine, Brian. He's now in Solwezi. Then he started cooking me. He was a natural musician. You know those natural musicians? He plays in church, but he doesn't want to be a musician. He's starting accounts, what? So he started cooking me now. Vocals, guitars, suggesting some music that I should listen to. That's when I discovered I was a griot. But I didn't know that time. So I started listening to a lot of PK Chala songs. And then later on, I met Chameleon again. Then he's like, you know what? I'm looking for a backup singer. Come to Lusaka so that you can be one of my backup singers.
And you went again?
Yes. So I worked with him for like 2 years until 2008, somewhere there. That's when I stopped. And
you're not scared that you won't meet him again?
No, I wasn't. When you are young, because that time I was very young.
Yeah.
So you are naive. You are just excited. Anyone can sell you a story and you buy it.
So how did you tell your family now that you're leaving the farms to go and...
yeah, I remember my auntie, the one I was staying with in the Boma, she had a problem with it. Because according to her, we didn't have any relatives in Lusaka. So where are you going to stay? How do you start your life?
So when you came here, you're staying with Chameleon?
So the funny thing is that when I was starting off from Mkushi, I thought I was going to stay at his house.
So where did you stay? And
then so I'll tell you this story, but I'll make it short. So we go to the studio, and he introduces me now officially to Charlie, and everyone else. And that's the day I met Christo Sean. And then he's like, where am I going to drop you? Come on, drop me? So I remember very well that day was a Thursday. It was a Thursday. So then I was like, okay, drop me in town. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have transport money, but I knew that there's buses that leave at 17 hours going back to Mkushi. So my plan was I'll go back and then make a plan on how I can come back and find a place where I can stay. That same day, I met a friend of mine that I was in school with in 1998 in Fiwila, in town. We met. He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, no, come on. I came to do this, that. I was like, oh, okay. I live here. I live in Kanyama. So I told him my story. He's like, let's go to my house. I ended up staying with him for 5 years.
You seem to have known a lot of people for someone who came from Kushi, because you say I met my friend Brian from Solwezi, and then I met my friend. You seem to have known you had a lot of friends, huh?
Yeah, I'm just that person. I make friends wherever I go. Some disappoint me, some I disappoint them, but but the bottom line is I make friends. I'm easy to relate with. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I love the honesty. So your Chameleon's backup.
Yeah, for like 2 years, I think 2 to 3 years, somewhere there. So we worked with. At first, when I joined, he was working with Dreams and some other guy, and then Dreams started his own career and left, and that's when I joined. So it was me, Mercy, and there's another guy called Kuzi. Then I worked with him for 2 years, and then I left because I was dreaming big.
So you're planning now to establish your own?
Yeah. So, and then I met. So Christo Sean introduced me to some guy called Jonah Banda, not we. You almost
Jonah. At what point did you? Huh?
So Jonah had a studio called Unique Records. It was in Villa Elizabeth in town. So Jonah was like, okay, he's talented. He plays guitar. So he put me under Drex. There's a producer called Drex, not DJ Drex, but there's a producer called Drex. So Jonah used to work with Lukundo Siwale, who's now Chef's manager.
Yeah, super. Yeah.
So those guys took care of me, and I stayed with them. That's where I started learning production, music production and writing. So I worked with Taitu, Mampi, a lot of artists.
I noticed, because I think I've seen you like in one of these So Good music videos. Was it Vitumbua? What's the certain video where I think you featured?
Vitumbua, was I? No, I don't think I was.
But there's a certain video where...
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. No. It was Jemima's Tinofara. Should be.
Tinofara, huh?
And I was playing guitar like this.
And
Mandai Bridge there.
Yeah, maybe. There's a certain...
wearing a funny, colorful shirt.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that. Also, you're now transitioning to being like a mainstream artist, and all the work that you've done over the years. We'll just take a break, but there's 2 more coming up on the table, and here's what's still to come.
I wrote it with Ossi. So I wrote Sauma's parts and I arranged it. I arranged the whole song. The church thinks ninapondoka, or you know, stuff like that.
And you featured on Chef 187's 360 song.
Yeah.
Do you think your contribution in that song really was impactful?
He loves to credit people.
Yes.
He loves to credit contribution. So I appreciate that about him. So yeah, she was married before, and then she went through a divorce.
Yeah.
And then 4 years later, I married her. At 2 minutes, advice. So don't wait until you have millions to marry. You will never respect your wife.
Welcome back. Still having a conversation right here with the one and only James Sakala, the married man, James Sakala.
Yeah.
But even before we get to that, maybe before the break, we're just having a very interesting story around your journey through music.
Yeah.
So where did it put you with being the James Sakala from church? Because then now you're with the Chameleons, you're performing different places, places that will be deemed as awkward by the church.
By the church. So, well, before that, actually, I was in a Jehovah's Witness church. That's where I grew up. Yeah. That's where my family goes. And when I was transitioning to being a musician, I was also transitioning to going to a Pentecostal church. So I remember when I joined a Pentecostal church, it was Bread of Life in Mukushi. And that's where I got saved. And, you know, like when you just get saved, you're still limping, you know. Yeah, you're still living this life, but then you are. So over the years, I'm growing as an artist, you know, learning production and songwriting or whatever, and meeting a lot of different big artists. I'm also trying to establish myself in the church. So it was one of those things where you want
the best of both worlds.
You know what I mean?
One leg in the water, another one in the fire.
Boom. Yeah, so, yeah. And then I remember at some point I quit music. That's how I left being people's backup singer, and because it wasn't just Chameleon alone. I worked with Taitu at some point, Ozzy. I worked with Christo Sean. I remember I traveled to Kitwe once with Mampi and the team, you know. So I just started being that guy that, you know, artists will call and say, oh, we're having a show here, you know, I want backup singers. Yeah, so because that time it wasn't very common to have like backup singers as an artist. It wasn't common. Yeah. So I was one of those few backup singers that would understand, you know, vocal stacking, like harmonies and yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So then, yeah, so when I quit music, I went now and I became serious with church. And I remember there's a pastor who came from Kitwe. We had a conference at Bread of Life from Kush. And he prophesied to me and said, you are supposed to be a big artist, but you are frustrated because you think this whole thing is taking long to unfold. God's plans are not your plans. Or your plans are not God's plans. So be patient, continue working hard, continue learning a lot of things. You're still young. Go back to Lusaka. That's how I came back. And now when I came back, that was, I think, 2009. I joined So Good Entertainment as a producer under Grant Mutema, who was like head of productions. Yeah.
Okay. So while you were a part of So Good, because I also believe you're a songwriter.
Yeah.
So how did this work? Were you also writing for artists while you were there, or how did it work with the songwriting?
Actually, when I was part of So Good, I wasn't really an artist. I was a producer and songwriter. Yeah, and songwriter. So there I worked with Jemima Scarlett. Yeah. Wrote some songs on her album, her debut album. And then I worked with Salma, wrote some songs for her, and also some songs that she featured on, like you know, one of 5-4's hit songs. I've forgotten that song, but it was like a nice love song like this. And also I wrote Ossi's what was the title of that song? It was a big song, Follow Me.
Oh, you wrote that song?
Yeah, so we wrote it. I wrote it with Ossi. So I wrote Salma's parts and I arranged it. I arranged the whole song.
Okay.
Yeah. So initially, Ossi wrote his verses and the chorus, the part where he's singing the chorus, and sent it to me. So I arranged the song and put Salma's parts and we recorded.
Yeah.
And it became a big song.
Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah. And also I wrote something for Mampi, though she didn't put it out. She still wants to put it out, though.
What's wrong with Mampi and not putting out things? Because Bobby's complained about the same thing.
Yeah,
I did a song with a verse with Mampi, though she put out my verse.
I think Mampi, from the time that I worked with her, I understood one thing. She's a perfectionist. So if she's not happy with something on a song, it's not coming out. So yeah, so it can be a good song, but if just one thing is not convincing to her, it's not.
How long ago was this?
That was like 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, 2010, somewhere there.
Do you think it's going to come out?
Yeah, because mostly when I meet her, I don't know, maybe she just does that, you know, industry thing, like, let's work. And then out of sight, out of mind. I don't know, maybe that's what happens. But she usually talks about the song, like, passionately, you know, so I know maybe one day she will. Yeah.
I thought, no, she's good people's.
Exactly.
Away from everything else. Yeah. So you've written for a number of...
For a number of artists. I mean, I've written for Esther Chungu. I've written for Chile Shebwalia. A lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot.
So where would you also... Because how does it work with the type of artists you work with? Because you seem to have... You have, like, again, still the best of both worlds. You get along very well with the gospel artists, like you've mentioned. There's the Chungus, you know, Chile Shebwalias, but you also get along very well with the quote-unquote secular artists. You will feature on a Chanena K song, which I love, by the way. That's a
okay.
song. I love
Thank you.
What is that? Dior? Is it
Dior,
Dior, right?
Dior, yeah.
You'll be working with Chef 187.
Yeah.
So you have this side, but where do people usually categorize you? Do they categorize you more of like on the...
Well, it's a bit controversial on the low key, you know, and on the down low, you know, because the church thinks ninapondoka, or you know, stuff like that. But I'll tell you one thing. I've always believed that music is just supposed to be music. It's not supposed to be gospel or secular. It's supposed to be music. Because if I tell you, there's a lot of people that I've met who've told me that they've mentioned maybe an artist, like a secular artist, and said, that song, his song saved me. You know, I was about to kill myself and I listened to that song. And I think that's ministry on its own.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have to be a worship song for someone to get saved. No. You know, I'll give you an example. There's an artist that I really love, that I've loved for a long time. I've never worked with him. I'm looking forward to working with him one day. Is the Big Danny Kaya. That song, that Kaya.
You know, funny thing is, he's actually around.
Yeah. That song Kaya, it saved a lot of people because it sort of like spoke to a lot of people who were going through that, you know, like where you are thinking, like you don't know whether to go and do a test or uyembekeze che pamineza kagwirira pamene hapo, you know what I mean? But also it instilled fear in people in the sense that they started taking certain precautions, you know what I mean? If you want to play around, you know that I have to either use a condom or, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it doesn't really have to be a worship song that can save someone. Yeah.
That's a nice way of...
So my music is just music. I'm an artist. I just want to be an artist. Yeah.
And you've managed to also cut across different audiences, but one of the audiences that you attract the most is the mature crowds. I think people who are into like that mature folk music, they relate more to that. How does it work? Because I mean, you look like a fairly young person.
I am.
Yeah, you know. But you do very, very mature music, and the people who listen to a lot of people listen to music are way, way older than you are. How do you manage to also appeal to that kind of audience?
So the age difference? Yes, there's that thing which they say an old soul. Maybe that's what I am. I'm an old soul. But also I appreciate the fact that I grew up in my grandparents' home. Because they instilled a lot of wisdom in me. And also, just in my journey, I remember when I joined So Good, I became part of the family at So Good, like Superman's, you know, family, like the biological family. And his parents became like my parents because we are not related with Superman, but he's my brother now. You know, going forward, he's my brother. A lot of people, I just tell them he's my brother, and even him, he says that's my young brother. So me being part of their family, his parents became my parents. And they made sure that they checked everything that I was doing. Everything. Even my songwriting, they would check my lyrics and whatnot. And I love to keep that because I think it has worked for me.
That explains why you also have a very good relationship with Shefi, because his manager is your brother. Yes,
that's my brother. Yeah. So Shefi is like, we've now become very good friends.
And you get along very well. I'd also like to know how you've managed to make that work, do these collaborations where people don't expect you to be on this song, but then there you are.
Yeah. Maybe because of my producer background.
Yeah.
Because I worked with a lot of different types of artists. I worked with rappers. You remember the critics, the likes of Critic.
Yes.
K-Star, you know, 5-4, to mention but a few. And also I worked with soul artists like Jemima Scarlett. I've worked with Wezi, you know. So for me, I understand a lot of different rhythms, you know. And to give you a brief background, I come from, before I started music, I was in a theater group. So I come from kuliza ngoma, you know, drumming and acting, and, you know, I'm a trained thespian.
I see.
So I have that background. So I understand a lot of different rhythms. I can sit on a reggae song. I can sit on Kalindula. I can sit on a hip-hop beat. Anywhere. Yeah.
Speaking of Chef 187, you featured on Chef 187's 360 song.
Yeah.
Do you think your contribution in that song really was impactful?
Well, I don't know. It's up to people to tell, really. But one thing I'll tell you is that I had, like, maybe I would say almost 40% contribution on the song, and people don't really know because people were waiting for me to sing somewhere. But we worked from even production, shaping the song. Some of the things that we added on the song, like drumming and whatnot, you know, all that was my contribution. So when the producer of the song made the beat, he had a loop. So when the song is starting, there's that drum loop that plays and ticking, 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 ticking. So he used that, and then he created in a very, what word can I use? Like in a very creative way, created a hip hop beat to sit on that drum.
Oh, okay.
You know, and Sheffy did his verses. So when he brought it to me, he was trying to find like what else can we do on the song. So we listened to the song, and I told him we can add a master drum, like leading the drums now after his verses, and I can also add a sample of my voice. Initially, it wasn't supposed to be a feature.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but I love that he loves to credit people.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
He loves to credit contribution, so I appreciate that about him. So
Nice,
yeah.
yeah.
So he added me as a feature, and it works for me. Actually. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think I've gained a lot of followers after that song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it's a big song.
Yeah.
It's a big song. It's been, I think it's been one of the big songs of
Exactly.
of this year. I mean, the other person who I know who also does that, who is able to work with different people, even people who you don't think who you work with, is Mumba Yachi. And
Yes,
you
yes.
blend, you'll be
Yachi.
on the chorus.
Yeah.
How often do you get people confusing you and Mumba Yachi?
Every time. Actually, now now that I have a team, a management team, the one thing that we've been working on is selling more of my face to attach it to the music, because most of my songs, people thought it was Mumba Yachi. Most of the songs. So if they haven't checked on the credits, they'll just think, Mumba Yachi has this song. This is a nice song. You know what I mean? So most of my music, people thought it was Mumba Yachi.
Did that have like a negative impact or positive impact on your brand?
Well, maybe a bit of both, you know, because my growth has been very slow, especially on my socials, you know, because when people listen, they are not looking forward to knowing the artist. They already think they know the artist. So they won't look for you. So if they already follow Mumba Yachi, they won't go and try and follow James Sakala, because they already follow the artist. You know what I mean? So until now that we've started selling, that's when now it feels like, people are realizing that, actually the voices are different, you know. When you pay attention, you really feel like, okay, now they sound different, because now there's faces on both vocals now. Yeah.
But would you agree that your vocals are that similar?
Yes.
And how does that work? Is there even a way of like differentiating that without people looking for the name? Like,
yeah.
Do you only have to look out for the name for you to know?
Yeah. So for only for people who are technical, Mumba Yachi is a high range vocalist. Sings. He does a lot of high. I am a bit low here. So if you listen carefully, you actually tell that these guys are different. But what normally confuse people about our voices is that we sing Bemba.
Yeah.
And we all come from a same school of listening to a lot of Kalindula. So we are almost like taught by one master. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but if you listen to our vocals carefully, and also our songwriting technique, we are different artists.
Yeah. But I love how, I mean, the two of you get along. You're performing at his
launch, yeah.
At his launch as well. I love how you're able to.
That's my friend. For the longest time, people have tried to create beef between us. I'm like, come on. When I was still in diapers musically, Mumba Yachi was doing this. So for me, it's more of an inspiration than someone I should compete with. You know, what am I doing competing with someone I've been learning from? Yeah. No.
Yeah. And I love that you see it. That way. Yeah. You recently got married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How's
men do this?
how's the marriage life going?
It's going great so far. Going great. Yeah. We are still excited. You know how it is. Like first few months, you're still calling each other those bae names. You know.
But you've probably been dating for some time before, isn't it?
Not really. I've known her for some time.
Okay.
I think the first time I saw her was in 2013. I met her in a shop. She was working in a certain shop at Arcades.
Okay.
And I saw her and I was like, damn. Yes, baby is nice, eh?
Yeah.
But that time I think I was, was I dating that time? No, I wasn't. 2013, I remember I had broken up with someone. So I stayed up to 2016. I wasn't dating. So when I saw her, and then I couldn't talk to her because she was busy, she was working. And then after like a year, I found her in Game Manda Hill. And she had a ring. I think she was engaged or something. Then I was like, you know what, forget. Yeah.
But did you talk to her the first time you met her?
No, I couldn't. She was busy. She was working.
Busy, but you just saw her.
Yeah, I saw her. I tried to move around and see if I can maybe find a way to talk to her, but I couldn't.
But then eventually you saw her at another mall.
At another mall, and she had a ring on, but I couldn't talk to her still because that time nalimkuta sana. And you know what a mkuta is?
What's
Ngwele, you know what a ngwele is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, you're like a useless guy.
Yes, you know what I mean? Like, one man bad.
Yeah.
So I couldn't talk to her.
Almost like a Kembo.
Yes, Kembo. I had cold feet, you know. So, yeah. And then fast forward, somehow we crossed path again. And that's when we started talking. Yeah.
So
it was like years later.
So did she explain to you, was she engaged for real? Or
yeah.
Sometimes I don't know why women do that. They just like wear a ring, like just to maybe keep off some guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she was really engaged.
Actually married.
She was actually married?
Yeah, she was married before and then she went through a divorce.
Yeah.
And then 4 years later, I married her. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's something that you eventually got to manage to work out between you and your partner. But even after like the wedding, I know pictures came out.
Yeah.
A lot of comments, people were cyberbullying your wife.
I know. When I saw that, I said, just just stay away from that. Every person is not good enough for people out there. You can never. Have you noticed that every celebrity wife is ugly or is old or is whatever? Everyone. That's how it is out there. I remember the first time Sheffy's wedding pictures came out.
Yes.
He cyberbullied his wife. Everyone. I've seen people cyberbully anyone. Kiddists. Come on.
That's an interesting point.
So, I told my wife, I said, boy, I don't care what people are saying out there. We are starting this life, me and you. That's what we should focus on,
Yeah. But was she like, I bet she was like...
Maybe she was, because, to me, she was like, no, don't worry. She posted a man, And she was okay. But maybe she was. You know how it is. Sometimes you just feel like, you know why. And even last week, I remember a picture which was posted on a blog, where at an interview they asked me about my marriage, how it is going. And then I said, and then somehow I dropped like a small advice. They quoted it. At 2 minutes, mchukwa advice.
You have to wait until 5 minutes. Don't you know?
Yes, you know what I mean.
5 minutes. Not 2 minutes, but
Not
5
2
minutes.
Wait for 5 minutes. But what people forget is that even after 30 years, if I drop a advice, those that have stayed in marriage for 8 years, they will say, you are still young. Don't talk about these things. So, chikwati mwamene chiambira, chikayamba chabe chayamba. Wasila.
Yeah. I know sometimes men get cold feet before they make that decision of getting married.
Yeah.
What convinced you to do it?
To be honest, I didn't even convince myself. I just started. And I appreciate a certain friend of mine from Kushi, my best friend. He was actually the best man at my wedding, Chola. He's the one that pushed me to start. And Jimmy Kumwenda. Yeah. Because I told them, I said, I don't see anything wrong with this woman. I really love her.
Yeah.
They're like, now what are you waiting for? I'm like, shishiwe, but ndefo kumuba shishiwe. Mwenso. They pushed me. Jimmy actually even escorted me to go and ask for her hand in marriage. The first time we took Tumbale, he was there with Bashivu Kombe and whatever. So when you start, then now you can't go back because you've started the process. Yeah.
And I would like for you to speak into that. I love when people address issues of marriage, relationships, because I mean, these are things that people deal with quite a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we won't really talk about life after marriage because
Yeah,
we
in
don't
2
put
minutes,
in
yeah.
2 minutes, in 3 minutes, man.
You know what I mean?
But before, because one thing I've come to realize about a lot of people why they get scared to officially get into marriage is I think it's number one, the fear of the unknown. Number two, and I hear this a lot, I'm not financially where I want to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes somebody who's got a good job, who's got whatever, but they feel like I'm not financially where I need to be. I need to make I need to make more money because I'm bringing someone else into my life, and we're going to have children and so on. What was your thinking around that time? Were you also worried, like?
Yeah, I was. Because remember that I married at 40. You know, I'm 40 years, and one of the reasons is that obviously I still hadn't found the one. But also another reason is that I always felt like I'm not ready financially. I needed to, you know, maybe have my own house, like buy a house, you know, like put all those things together, you know. But like they say, God's plans are not your plans.
Yeah, true.
Or your plans are not God's plans.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an elderly man that I had a chat with who gave me who said something to me that really made sense. He said, when you start together with your wife, you will respect each other. So don't wait until you have millions to marry. You will never respect your wife. And I've seen this happen to a lot of people that are well-to-do. When they marry,
That's actually very
there's a lot of problems. And not everyone, but I've seen it happen to a lot of people, you know.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point. Wow. I should keep learning a lot of things. I think it's ready to be a Shibuko.
2 minutes.
But James Sakala, thank you so much for coming through. What else can people expect from you, especially that we're almost closing down the year?
Oh yeah, so I've been in studio recording my second album. So the funny thing is that I recorded an album, and I was almost done, like 90%. That was the one which was supposed to drop as my second album, and I decided to switch it up a bit and do something that people don't expect. So I've kept that one for the third album.
Okay.
So I've been recording a fusion of hip hop and whatever, and quite exciting project. So very soon I'll be dropping singles, and also it will be coming out soon. So people should expect that. And I've got quite some interesting features on it. It's something they should look out for.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm really excited about it.
We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you.
James Sakala has been my guest. Thank you so much for coming through today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you as well for watching today's episode of On the Table. Back again next week, Sunday. My name is Chimweka, or simply Chimweka. Bye.